Decision 2012, it's considered the toughest sentencing law in the country, and tomorrow California voters will decide whether to make changes to the three strikes law.
NBC Bay Area's Monte Francis has a look at how that law would change and the emotionally charged arguments on both sides.
Madeline Blockson has spent the last 15 years as an inmate at the Central California Women's Facility in Chowchilla. She just turned 60, and this year she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, which has spread to her bones.
The time should fit the crime. It's just not right.
Blockson's first and second strikes were both felonies, robbery and burglary. Then in 1997, she stole some batteries and cigarettes from a grocery store. It was a petty theft, and even though her crimes were not violent, it was her third strike, and it meant she would have to spend the next 25 years to life behind bars.
And unless this law changes, either I'm going to die in this prison, or I'll get a chance to do some of the things I never gave myself the opportunity to do before.
24 other states also have three strikes laws, but California is the only state where the third strike does not have to be a serious or violent felony, which is why California's version of the law is considered the harshest in the country. The story of California's three strikes law begins in Fresno in 1992, when an ex-felon shot and killed 18-year-old Kimber Reynolds while attempting to steal her purse. At the hospital, her father, a local wedding photographer, watched as his only daughter slipped away.
I literally was holding her hand while she was dying, and I made a promise to her that I would do everything I could to try to prevent this from happening to another kid.
Mike Reynolds kept that promise to his daughter by authoring Three Strikes, which was signed into law in 1994. Reynolds says Prop 36 would weaken what he proudly boasts is the toughest crime law in the nation.
This has provided a greater level of safety to virtually every citizen in this state.
There are currently 8,800 prisoners statewide serving life sentences under three strikes. About half of them are serving life for a third strike that was nonviolent or minor. Prop 36 would require the third strike to be a serious or violent felony, and if it passes, those 4,000 prisoners could have their sentences reduced. Supporters of the measure claim it could save the state up to $200 million a year. But Reynolds says almost 2 decades of three strikes has led to a dramatic statewide drop in crime. He warns of a crime wave if Prop 36 passes.
This is giving twice convicted serious and violent offenders a new opportunity to go out and do more serious and violent crime.
Kelly Turner spent 13 years at the Central California Women's Facility before her case was overturned on a technicality.
In 1988, I committed a robbery with a toy gun. In 1992, I caught a set of car keys. And in 1997, I forged a check at a department store and received 25 to life.
Turner hopes Prop 36 will give to Blockson the same freedom she now enjoys.
I think that her sentence has been commuted to the death penalty if this proposition does not pass. For such a minor offense, it's truly heartbreaking.
You know, I understand Mr. Reynolds' dilemma with his, you know, with his family and the brutal crime that happened. But everybody didn't do that to him.
Since in prison, Blockson says she has overcome a drug addiction, cleaned up her life, and been commended for good deeds. But if she and other nonviolent offenders are looking for sympathy, they won't find it from the man who helped put three strikes on the books.
Why in the world would you go do some shoplifting when you knew very clearly that you could be facing a 25 to life sentence under California's three strikes law?
Blockson says if she could go back and change the past, she would.
I don't want to die behind these walls. I don't want to die behind these walls. That's it.
A heartfelt plea and a father's promise, and a decision now in the hands of voters. In Chowchilla, Monte Francis, NBC Bay Area News.
story our day. Our chopper scene now at Oikos University in Oakland. It is a small Christian university. Police confirmed that a gunman there killed 7 people and injured 3 others. Now, we have learned the identity of the alleged gunman. His name is Juan El Go. Police say he was a former student at that school.
Our investigative unit has information about Juan Go, and we're investigating and we're awaiting additional details from Oakland's police chief and possibly the mayor as well. A news conference scheduled to start in about 1 hour from now. And we have several reporters covering the story, from the surrender at the local grocery store to the victims and new details from our investigative unit. Let's begin with NBC Bay Area's Monty Francis, who joins us from the scene where you've been all day. Monty, what do you have?
Well, Raj, the crime scene is still active, and there is still a large police presence out here. You can see that police still have the road blocked off, and the crime tape is up. This is quite a contrast from earlier today, when this was a scene of absolute chaos as a gunman opened fire inside this private university on Edgewater Drive in Oakland, and students ran for their lives. On this cell phone video, you can hear the gunshots ring out at Oakland's Oikos University at about 10:30 in the morning as students sat in class. Hey, you wanna get and you can see one student who ran in terror when she says a man opened fire on his classmates. She was shot in the arm as she ran for her life.
I seen her run down the street and she said, "I've been shot, I've been shot." And she was standing next to me, and I said, "Well, let me see." I said, "Well, you need an ambulance."
A piece of her arm was missing, and we heard a couple more shots ring out from the building.
Some of the victims came out on gurneys and others in body bags. And the SWAT team moved in, surrounding the school, thinking the gunman was still inside. The injured woman from the cell phone video described to witnesses what happened in the classroom.
He shot one person point blank in the chest, and she turned out and ran. That's when she ran.
She said that he wasn't all there. You know what I mean? Something wasn't right with him from day one. They met him. And from there, you know what I mean? I guess, I don't know, they're picking on him. I don't know. You know, that's what she was telling us.
Well, she told me that the person that was inside the classroom, the guy wasn't very, as you could say, popular. He was a Korean guy, didn't know how to speak very good English, supposedly. And he was kind of the outcast of the class, you can kind of tell.
Eventually, police determined the gunman was not inside the building, and after an hour-long manhunt, detained a suspect about a mile from the scene. Officers spent hours searching the school and rescuing students who had taken cover inside. And witnesses say the shooting happened inside of a nursing class, which is one of the fields of study at this private school. Students here are now in shock, trying to fathom how this could have happened. Live in Oakland, Monty Francis, NBC Bay Area News.
So many unanswered questions. Thank you, Monty.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us.
And I'm Jessica Aguirre. Did a Bay Area teen help the New York Giants snag that Lombardi trophy? The Super Bowl winners drew inspiration from the high schooler, and tonight the Giants and their fans are celebrating in the Big Apple. And the Bay Area teen who helped them pump up says she's surprised by all the attention she's getting. Again, NBC Bay Area's Monty Francis is live in Belvedere with her coach. They're a little stunned by all of this.
Well, Jessica, it was one simple act of perseverance, and although it was more than a year ago that this young athlete crawled across the finish line, it's a lesson that has no expiration date. With less than a mile to go, Holland Reynolds was on her way to another state championship. But then she stumbled and collapsed just a few feet from the finish line. Suffering from dehydration and hypothermia, she slowly and painfully crawled her way to victory. Later, she said she did it for her coach at San Francisco's University High School, Jim Tracy, who'd been diagnosed with ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease.
Now we have other athletes looking towards me, and I never thought that would happen.
Reynolds watched the Super Bowl with her family, knowing that it was a video of her that the Giants coach said set the tone for the game and for the Giants' victory.
I thought it was just crazy because I never really thought of like other athletes who were like professional athletes using it for inspiration.
A year later, and Jim Tracy is still coaching at the high school, but he's having more trouble getting around, and he's not sure how many more seasons he'll have.
My goal really is to be a healthy enough sick person so that I can still contribute.
Both Jim Tracy and Holland Reynolds say the lesson for the rest of us is not to give up, no matter what happens. and to find the strength deep down inside yourself to move forward.
I just say to myself, yeah, this is hard, but there are harder things. And I must just do my best, to think about what I want to do today.
I was crawling for the love of my coach, and I think that's something that people don't see that much, is just really fighting for others and for my team, because that's what I was doing. I was crawling for my team and for my coach.
And the university set up a trust fund to help cover Jim Tracy's health care costs. If you'd like to contribute, you can go to our website for more information, NBCBayArea.com, and search for the words Holland Reynolds. As for Reynolds, she's been accepted to Colgate University in New York. She plans to run cross country there next fall. Live in Marin County tonight, Monty Francis, NBC Bay Area News.
Okay, thank you, Monty. Well, tonight.